Kuzuzampo, welcome to Bhutan This Week, our weekly news magazine program with me, Sonam Pem. Our top stories this week. His Majesty the King on a royal tour to the east. Many in Samtsi want to exchange their land with the government reserve land. And 3 arrested on suspicion of engaging in prostitution in Phuntsholling. His Majesty the King is in the east on a royal tour, having visited Punakha, Tongsa and Bumthang. During the tour, His Majesty visited the various Desung National Service water project sites to meet the Desups who have volunteered to build robust water management infrastructure in those parts of the country with long-standing water supply issues.
His Majesty met the Desups at Guma in Punakha, where the pilot National Service water project was completed and inaugurated on Saturday. The project in Guma, which took 10.5 months to complete, benefits 3 villages. His Majesty also met Desups working in National Service water projects in Tasibi and Chiner in Bumthang. The projects are scheduled for completion next month and will benefit more than 90 households. His Majesty also met with the Desups and trainers of the ongoing Desung skilling programs in Tongsa, Bumthang and Mongar. More than 100 Desups are being trained by master trainers in various courses including videography and photography, hairstyling and makeup, jewellery design, digital marketing and Fab Lab in Zongkhalum, Tongsa. A second group of 15 Desups are training in carpentry and woodworks in Carpentry Edelweiss in Bumthang. The first group of 10 trainees completed their training in August. A hair and makeup course in Gelpushing and horticulture course in Lingmithang commenced today. His Majesty the King thanked the Desups for their invaluable service to the nation and encouraged them to take advantage of the opportunities offered by the DSP programs to pursue learning skills that will be valuable for their careers as well as the nation. In Gelpushing, His Majesty granted audiences to the students and faculty of the Gelpushing College of Information and Technology. His Majesty shared that colleges are sacred institutions that should empower and benefit generations of people to come. The infrastructure as well as the education in the country's institutes of learning must be of the highest standards, empowering students to excel anywhere in the world and build the future of Bhutan's aspirations. While work is ongoing to strengthen the college towards this vision, His Majesty asked the students to work hard to live up to the high expectations that His Majesty and the nation has for them. His Majesty visited the Gelsung site under development in Bongderma this afternoon. Sonamongdi for BBS News.
Presenting Bhutan's food systems to the United Nations General Assembly recently, the Prime Minister Dr. Lotus Ring said the pandemic has exposed Bhutan's vulnerable food systems. However, he said it has also presented an opportunity to do more in attaining food self-sufficiency. The food system is the process starting from the production of foods until consumption.
The UN Food Systems Summit was held virtually on Thursday. The Prime Minister said Bhutan's aim to achieve food self-sufficiency will depend on how the country adapts to the changing climate and the rigid laws.
Bhutan is a developing Himalayan nation and the geographical landscape is far from favorable for a meaningful agriculture. The human-wildlife conflict and the impacts of climate change are testing the resilience of our crops as well as the patience of our growers daily. And then we have tough environment and climate laws, which of course is good in the long run but firm and rigid for the immediate gains.
However, the Prime Minister said Bhutan intends to fight on and reform her food systems.
The pandemic presented a stark reminder that we are an import-driven country and need to do more in terms of food production. Only then we can play an active part in the global food system. But we have a unique opportunity to reform our food system today. In doing so, we aspire to move from conventional to technology-driven farming and from subsistence to commercial scale.
The Prime Minister also said Bhutan commits to progress to health-conscious dietary practices. He added, there is a danger that hunger might be the next pandemic if the global leaders don't come together.
Strengthening food system will not just be the biggest complementing factor to prevent and counter similar pandemics in future, but also have positive impact on climate change. It would enhance overall quality of living on the planet. and this summit is a perfect platform to initiate the wholesome approach. For Bhutan, we pledge to do our part.
For Sonam, this is Cheku for BBS News.
An increasing number of landowners in Samtsi want to exchange their land with the government reserve land. Today, some of them live in constant fear of flash floods washing away their homes and land. There are others unable to grow any crops as their land have turned barren due to erosion.
28-year-old Dalimaya Galle is from Chujutha, previously known as Chetritar in Pemalingaok. She, along with her family, has to regularly check the condition of the road above their house, which can erode any time. Following such a concern, she requested for another land to relocate her family this year. Her request is yet to be approved.
The road eroded last year as well as this year. It slightly damaged our house. When it rains, we cannot sleep. We fear the road would slide down and bury us. We wait for the rain to stop and return to sleep.
In another village in the Gewok, Chandra Koirala lives under a constant threat of a flash flood. There is a stream flowing above her house, which, fed by the rains, overflowed and nearly damaged her home and a cowshed a few months ago.
The stream is not a big problem during the dry season, but in summer it is a different story. The small stream above my house swells and causes flash floods. It washes down debris and damages our fields and cowsheds.
Similarly, nearly an acre of Bhakta Bahadur Limbu's land remains idle, following a landslide triggered by a flash flood.
It happened all of a sudden. We were working in our fields and I heard a loud sound. When I reached here, I saw the land had eroded. Our water pipes were also destroyed. I used to grow crops on this land, and this year I thought of planting orange trees.
Bhakta Bahadur plans to apply for a land exchange soon. Of the 15 Geoks in Samtsi, Pemaling alone has received over 40 land exchange applications so far. Of them, only 4 have been approved. During the recent Songkok Sokdu, local leaders expressed concerns about the existing land exchange rules and regulations. The rules and regulations for lease of government-reserved forest land and government land allows the exchange of rural registered land with government-reserved land if the land is destroyed by natural calamities or if the land falls within critical watershed areas.
Some of the villages' land are near a water source and there are water reservoirs, so they cannot work on the land. As per the land exchange rules, if one's land is at a water source, the source should benefit a minimum of 100 households to claim an exchange. But in some cases, the water source benefits only about 20 to 30 households. This makes them ineligible to seek land exchange.
A lot of villagers are applying for land exchange because most of their land are filled with stones and sand. It cannot be used for farming. People do not own much land and whatever they have are also left barren.
In Dumte Geok, from about 60 households who applied for land exchange, 20 households are genuine cases. They fulfill the criteria for a land exchange. Some of their land are near the water source and some have been damaged by natural hazards. However, the land exchange processes are too lengthy and it is taking time.
The district land record officer said that giving land exchange service to every applicant will be difficult. There are limited government reserve land.
As per the Land Act 2007, one can only apply for land exchange if their land has been damaged by natural calamities. At the Dzongkhag level, we do not have the right to change the rules and regulations. And when it comes to giving land exchange, we cannot do that for everyone. We do not have a large government reserved land.
The Dzongkhag Sokdo decided to write to the National Land Commission Secretariat and Samtsi constituency's Member of Parliament to relook into the rules and regulations on exchanging rural and government reserve land. Sansi has the most number of land exchanged in the country. The National Land Commission Secretariat approved about 1,000 applications in the district so far. For Pasang Doji in Samtsi, Phuket, BBS News.
The Bhutanese economy shrank to an all-time low of more than -10% last year amid the pandemic. It is almost a 16% drop as compared to a growth of more than 5% in 2019. The economy of a country is measured by the gross domestic product or GDP, which is the total goods and services produced within a country during a given period of time.
Bhutan's GDP dropped to 171 billion item last year from 178 billion in 2019. Among the major economic sectors, the industry sector like mining and quarrying and construction were the main sectors that led to a fall in the growth of the economy. The hydropower has, however, done exceptionally well last year. The high growth in the sector was mainly due to the full commissioning of the Mangdechu power plant. The fall in the GDP is also attributed to service sectors like hotels and restaurants and recreational services dependent on the tourism sector crippled by the pandemic. However, the primary sector like agriculture, livestock and forestry recorded a growth of almost 5%, an increase of more than 3% from 2019. This was one of the highest growth rates in the past 5 years.
If you look at the agriculture sector, because pandemic has not much, there is not much effect from the pandemic. So if you look at these sectors, there is a growth in the sector. So other two major sectors, this is industry and service sector are hardest hit because we depend on the service sector. Mostly we depend on the tourism, and then again the industry. Again we need to depend on the Indian market. For both for the raw material and also for the exports.
There was also increase in the expenditure from the government for wages and salary, office equipment, and expenditure on health sectors. With a population of almost 750,000, the GDP per capita for 2020 was estimated at almost 230,000 item. This is a drop of more than 11,000 item from the previous year. This was the first time that the country's GDP fell below zero in 3 decades. The last was in 1991 when the GDP slumped to minus 0.4%. Samten Dolkar, BBS News.
The Bhutan Hydropower Services Limited or BHSL in Jimiling in Sarpang has started manufacturing hydropower turbines. The company was first established in 2014 to cater to hydropower projects in the country. It has helped save millions spent on repairing turbines and its components.
Sringpenjur is the head of the engineering section of the company. He's checking the design of the turbine which is being built for the Tala hydropower plant. He said he never imagined himself getting involved in manufacturing turbines.
Each and every day while I see the newly finished runner, I have a sense of satisfaction in my mind.
He said power fluctuation during the monsoon often hampers the progress of the work.
There are power fluctuations occurring, I think every couple of days we have some minor machine tripping due to power fluctuation, so it affects the production. And we would, I think if there is uninterrupted power supply, then the progress will also be commensurately greater.
According to the company, they could restore around 21 turbines for hydropower projects in Bhutan so far. They also manufactured 2 turbines for Turkey and Himachal Pradesh in India. It takes a year to make 1 turbine, which costs about 100 million nultrum. To ensure quality, the manufacturing is done through computer numerical control, meaning tools used for building the turbines are controlled by a computer. Bhutan used to import hydropower turbines from Korea and France. However, he said getting raw materials has been challenging due to the pandemic.
The cost will be a little cheaper because we are saving a transportation cost here. And more so, we are able to do on our own. We are able to build competency. There are lots of orders in pipeline.
Since a good chunk of the revenue is from hydropower, this engineering fit will only help in increasing the revenue by cutting down on the dependency of hydropower components on other countries. The company plans to meet local demands and cater to other countries as well. For Karmawandi in Sarpang, Cheku for BBS News.
In line with the Royal Kasho on education reform, Monga's education sector will implement transformative pedagogy in schools more effectively. The decision was taken during its annual education conference. Transformative pedagogy is a teaching method that focuses more on engaging students in the learning process rather than teacher giving lecture.
The teaching method emphasizes on students' participation, ownership, and making learning fun and exciting. For instance, a teacher identifies a topic and students do basic research on the topic. Students will also be encouraged to work in groups and carry out various projects. The Education Ministry introduced transformative pedagogy in 2016.
These teaching approaches are not new to us. We have been practicing it for a long time. It's just that we could not implement it consciously. So it seems like we have not used it.
We have been following the inquiry learning method in our school, but it is time for us to do more. We also have the cooperative learning method. We need to accelerate the implementation of these new teaching and learning methods.
It was highlighted during the annual conference that not all schools in Monga could adapt to and practice the new method.
To implement the teaching approaches effectively, we need to have all the basic facilities such as projector, smart board, tablets, and good internet connectivity.
The schools following transformative pedagogy said the teaching method has helped in improving their students' academic performance and critical thinking.
In our school, we have cooperative learning where we learn in a group. For instance, we do project works in groups. Working together helps us clear doubts and learn from each other.
When
we are asked to do a project work, we look for a relevant topic. So we end up researching, discussing, and browsing through the internet. And this in turn helps us acquire more knowledge.
Studies and research show that transformative pedagogy has a positive impact on Bhutanese classroom teaching. However, curriculum design and classroom structure, among others, limit the practice. For Sonam Swing in Monga, Kyalzang Choden for BBS News.
The Bhutan Power Corporation Limited suspended the director who was alleged of sexual harassment recently. According to the corporation's chief executive officer, the suspension order was issued recently. The director will remain suspended with half of his basic salary until the case is resolved.
A committee comprising 5 members will investigate the alleged case. As per the Labour Ministry's Regulations on Working Conditions 2012, the receipt of a victim's written complaint shall be acknowledged within 2 days and an investigation into the complaint must start within 5 days. According to sources, a female employee filed a complaint against the director on Monday alleging him of sexually harassing her. However, the CEO received the letter only on Wednesday. The incident supposedly took place in the wee hours of 15 September. The complainant was on night duty along with another female colleague. She said during that time, the director came to the office drunk and started groping her. As per the regulations on working conditions, a victim should be informed of the investigation's outcome within 10 days from the start of the investigation. The BPC CEO said that he asked the committee to expedite the investigation. Sringzam, BBS News.
The Phinsoling police have detained 2 women and a girl on suspicion of engaging in prostitution. They were arrested last Wednesday. The three are suspected to have provided sexual services from a massage parlor in Phinsoling town.
According to sources, the girl is 16 years old and is currently being kept at the child detention center. It has been learned that the police came to know of the illegal business from the girl whom they found in the town late at night. The girl had recently arrived from her village in Sirang and had started working at the parlor just a few days ago. The parlor is run by one of the two women who are in custody. Sources say the parlors charge around 1,500 Newton for an hour of massage. A customer has to pay extra for any sexual service. A man has also been arrested for having sex with the minor at his home. The police say they are investigating the case. For Sonam Penjo in Phinsoling, Sangisha for BBS News.
The quarantine facility with 400 beds at Amochu in Phinsoling is complete. The facility was consecrated recently. Upon the command of His Majesty the King, the government began the construction of the facilities in July this year.
The quarantine facility is located a few kilometers away from the town. It will be handed over to the district administration soon. This facility will be used only for people coming from abroad. Today there are some 400 people in hotels that are used as quarantine centers. The quarantine facility has 32 blocks including rooms for officials on duty. A block has 4 rooms each. Rooms are equipped with television sets, kitchen, toilet and bathroom. More than 300 DSUPs, armed force personnel and members from the Build Bhutan project constructed the facility in less than 2 months. Samsi, Gelifu and Samrup Jonkar have quarantine facilities with 200 beds each. The southern region now has quarantine facilities to accommodate 1,000 people. For Sonam Penjo in Phinsoling, Sringzam, PBS News.
Alcohol liver disease or ALD continues to be the top killer in the country. As per the Annual Health Bulletin 2021, on an average, 14 people die in a month due to ALD. The report stated that alcohol liver disease has been claiming the highest number of deaths in the country since a decade ago. Last year, almost 170 deaths were reported due to ALD. It is an increase by about 30 deaths from 2019. Besides, more new cases of alcohol liver disease were reported last year. They were found to be high in the age group of 25 to 49 years. Consequently, mental and behavioral disorders due to alcohol also increased to more than 1,500 cases last year. According to the bulletin, the increasing cases could be due to the high social and cultural significance of alcohol in the country. The National Council's interim report on the review of harmful use of alcohol stated that there are more than 4,000 alcohol outlets comprising retail, wholesale and bars in the country. As per the report, alcohol is cheap and widely available in Bhutan compared to other countries. In 2016, the Health Ministry spent about 27 million Newton to treat alcohol-related diseases. The ministry's mental health team said the rising deaths and new cases must have further increased the expenditure, although the ministry is yet to compile the latest figure. Sunampem for BBS News. With the 12th five-year plan already midway, the government was able to utilize only more than 2 billion Newton on the flagship programs so far. A total budget of 10 billion Newton was identified for these programs. The flagship programs were selected and prioritized based on the national significance and the potential for yielding high socio-economic impact.
The drinking and irrigation water saw the highest budget of 5 billion item. The expenditure so far remains at 240 million item. Under this program, 130 rural water supply schemes and 5 urban water supply schemes have been completed. 180 rural water schemes and 18 urban schemes are still under construction. The second highest budget was for the Digital Drukgyal flagship program with more than 3 billion item. However, only a little more than 720 million item has been spent so far. Under this project, the digital identity, digital school, electronic patient information system, and government-initiated network, among others, are underway. Almost 530 agencies are today connected with optic fiber out of 1,085 agencies. The government has allocated more than 1 billion item for health. So far, more than 100 million item was utilized. The major program under this is effective screening for cervical cancer, stomach cancer, and breast cancer. In Bhutan, gastric cancer is the common medical condition in men and the second most common in women after cervical cancer. So far, almost 30,000 women have been screened for cervical cancer. The other 6 flagship programs include waste and stray dog management, promoting startup and CSI, National Day footprint, tourism, education, and increasing organic production. Altogether, more than 5.4 billion item has been allocated for these 6 programs, of which only 1.6 billion item has been spent so far. Without much progress in the implementation of the programs, the last midterm review reduced the budget of the flagship programs to 10 billion from the initial 15 billion item. According to a written statement from the Prime Minister's office, the activities planned in COVID high-risk districts are being impacted and lagging behind due to the restrictions imposed, including the mandatory quarantine requirements. The flagship programs, which require procurement of equipment, have also been impacted by COVID-19. Samtin Dolkar, BBS News.
That's all for this week. Thank you for joining us.